You've had opportunities this season, yet still to get off the mark in terms of points. So how would you sum up your mood, the mood of the group going into this game against Forest?
Yeah, the mood's good. We should have more than 0 points from the 2 games. Probably both could have easily been draws. I think the difference against Aston Villa last week was probably us in front of goal, missing chances, and Danny Ings miscontrolling and spinning and hitting a great finish and a transitional moment, and that could happen. So, we wanted more out of the 2 games, but in terms of our performances, they've been pretty good. I think we understand with this season the process for us of bringing in new players late in the window, players that just arrived just after Conor Cody came after Chelsea. Amadou isn't fit yet. Villa wasn't fit enough to start the game, so we're in an early transitional period. But I think we deserve more. But the mood's good.
Obviously, off the pitch as well, it appears there's a number of issues to be sorted out. First of all, I'm going to speak about Anthony Gordon. How likely do you feel it is he will still be an Everton player once the window shuts, given obviously Chelsea have been in and made that bid for him?
Yeah, he's an Everton player, isn't he? So I don't want to talk about likely or hypothetical questions of what may be. He's an Everton player. Firstly, he's got a huge value to the team for me at Everton. We saw that in his progress last season when I got here and felt that on the pitch. He's a massive player in the squad. He's obviously a huge valuable asset for the club, one that we've actually developed ourselves and come through. So there's a link to the fans, a link to the club. That's the story of Anthony Gordon.
With regard to him though as well, I mean, what conversations have you had with him? Is it a player who has reacted in any way to this speculation about his future?
No.
And what kind of reaction, and how does that impact any decision to play him this weekend?
No, he's in the squad for tomorrow. Any chats I have with him will remain private. I'm not going to sit here and publicly talk about those. And as any player should do, they have to get on with their game and their own form and train well and prepare well and play well with our player. It's as simple as that.
We also ask what's happening with Dele Alli now, and is it likely that he's going to be going to Besiktas now, or could it be elsewhere? What's the situation?
Well, there's interest in Dele. I think that's come out publicly in the last couple of days. I think that's one for us behind the scenes to consider ourselves, and obviously Dele has to consider that. And for him to go, it'll have to be the right situation for everybody.
Clearly, though, Frank, you want to bring in forward options as well. It's the 1st of July, effectively, that Richarlison joined Spurs, so 7 weeks since he left. No striker's been brought in. Fans are obviously worried that hasn't been addressed as well. So what can you say that will ease the fans' fears and maybe give them some belief that something will happen to rectify that before the deadline?
Yeah, well, firstly, we've got one of England's main centre-forwards in our squad that got injured 3 days before the Chelsea game. So I think those weeks of after Richarlison are not that valid. The club has to look at different areas of the team that we wanted to strengthen, and it wasn't just that, and nobody saw the Dominic injury coming with Salomon Rondon, who was suspended for the first game that's now available. I think it's definitely an area of the pitch in forward areas that we do want to strengthen, and we have to make sure if we strengthen it's the right player at the right time to improve the squad, and there's a lot of clubs in similar situations, a lot of clubs, and we're one of those.
In terms of them being able to move in the transfer window for that striker, is there anything you can put your finger on that's a real issue that makes it so difficult to get in the targets that you want at the moment?
No, there's nothing particular. It's all relative. What do you want? What type of profile? What's available? What's on the market? How much they cost? What do you want to spend? There's lots of moving parts to that.
In terms of the injury list at the moment, Doucouré, have you got a timescale on him? And Alan, is he fully fit? Yeah?
Alan's fit. Alan's in the squad. He's back and he's missed games in pre-season. Obviously, he's missed that part, so we're trying to get him match fit. But he's a really good pro and he's fit, ready to go. Doucouré is probably going to be about 3 weeks from now.
Just again, back to transfers. A possibility we heard this week that Gana Gueye deal could get done. I know you don't want to talk about clubs at other players at other clubs, but clearly this kind of situation has been dragging on for some time as well. We know he's someone who would obviously add something to the club as well, but is there anything you can tell us as regards what is happening with Gana Gueye?
No. Good try.
But it has been dragging on for so long, Frank. I mean, obviously it seems to be that he's someone that you're looking to bring in.
Listen, he's a player for PSG. It's as simple as that. You can draw your own conclusions.
I've got a list of names here as well. I don't think there's any point going through them, is there?
You can go back to Anthony Gordon if you want. You get the same answer.
Forest then this weekend, obviously. I mean, how do you stress the importance of getting that first win of the season on the board without putting undue pressure on at such an early stage of the season as well?
Yeah, listen, I'm not putting huge pressure on ourselves. Only the norm. We want to get points because that's what we get judged on at the end of the day. We hope that with a performance and with improvement and with players settling into the team, then naturally those results will come. But it's the Premier League. It's Nottingham Forest. invested heavily in their squad this summer. Lots of talent. Hard to analyse because of that, but very good coach. So it's a really difficult game. So I don't want to put everything on this game in terms of adding to pressure. It's the normal pressure that we put on ourselves at Goodison, at home, confident in what we do, confident with the fans behind us. We just have to prepare in the right way.
Thanks, Frank. Good luck.
Thank you.
Off to Adam from New Productions.
Hi Frank.
Hi.
Nottingham Forest, 16 new signings. What do you think about that, and is it difficult to prepare for?
Yeah, it's difficult to prepare in terms of personnel. You're not sure. We've had a couple of games in the pre-season games to be able to look at. Obviously aware of how they were playing last season, but the new personnel does give you some difficulties. So I think it's a game to focus a lot on ourselves, have an understanding of how they play, some of the usual characteristics that they'll show regardless of personnel, and respect them. When a team comes up, a good team, good coach, and spends that amount of money, improves the squad so drastically like they have, then they're going to be serious contenders in the Premier League. So let's see.
Yeah, this time last year they were bottom of the Championship. Steve Cooper obviously has taken them on. It surprised a lot of people, I think.
Yes, because it was an incredible feat for him personally, but in the coaching world, not a huge surprise. Really good young English coach. I like seeing those stories, like seeing that. I think it's good that people and teams trust in a young English coach. We've got lots of talented coaches in this country. Steve Cooper showed that massively last season and now going to show it in the Prem.
I know there's a bit of focus on your attacking prowess at the moment, but defensively you started with Cody, Tarkowski and Holgate. How important is it that those three gel together and you have that solid base at the back?
Yeah, it's important, and we have other players as well who can play there. Michael Keane, Seamus is now coming back to fitness, and it's important that we have depth in that area, and it's important also that we get some consistency in selection if we can. We didn't always get that last season. We've defended very well for big parts of the first two games, and of course a penalty, which is a small moment against Chelsea, and two transitions which can happen. You can't attack with 11 men behind the ball. You have to sometimes open up, and I think our defensive game has actually been very sound. So yeah, we need to keep working on that.
And just finally from me, Frank, just on Dele, why do you think it hasn't quite clicked for him here?
It's a long conversation. I don't want to get too drawn on, because the moment Dele's name comes in the media, I think people queue up to have an opinion and be quite negative about it, and I don't think that's really fair for a young man whose talent took him onto the world stage of football and won Young Player of the Year twice and was one of the world talents at a young age. I think we should just respect the fact that he needs to keep working and respect the fact that it's his career, and it's very easy to comment on from the outside. So I don't really want to join in that conversation too much. Thanks.
To Ian Kennedy at Radio Merseyside.
Hi Frank. You mentioned last week that Amadou Onana was not quite ready for a start, but given what he did do when he came on, and maybe the Decore injury, I'm not sure, is he in contention for... Have you seen enough of him now to think that he might be fit enough to start?
Yeah, he's certainly in contention, and that's a call for me to make, and I'm giving it as long as I possibly can until before the game tomorrow, because as much as we want his impact, and I think he's going to have a big impact, I think we saw, as you say, a glimpse of that. We need to make sure we do the right thing by the player and the team, and he really had missed big chunks of pre-season, and this is the Premier League, and I don't want to throw him in there too soon. I want to use him at the right time and right minutes, so that's something we'll be managing over the next couple of weeks. We don't want an injury situation either, so it's important to get that one right for the longer picture.
He looks a very confident player. Does he have a presence around the place even now?
Yeah, he has a real big presence. He's settled in very quickly. For a very good teammate, straight in with the lads. It gives off a very good energy as such, and every day in training, good with his voice. For a young player, smart boy. I knew him well by the time he's arrived here, and I think he's going to be a big player for us. But it's the start for him, so we have to also be that little bit patient. But he's settled in brilliantly.
And obviously, you want to get a few wins and some points on the board. And going back to the second half of last season, it couldn't have been easy for the players to go out and play with a sense of freedom, if you like. As a coach or manager, can you instill a little bit of that into them now to say, don't worry about making a mistake, or try that little thing that maybe they wouldn't have done last season? Yeah,
we're trying to evolve our game, but we have to, at the same time, have a sense of where we are. And it was I came into what was a relegation battle. It was very clear to me very quickly when I got to the club. So we showed spirit, character, all those great attributes, and now we want to develop a little bit, but we also have to understand where we are. So we've tried to improve the squad in different areas. We've lost a big player at the top end of the pitch in Richarlison, so it's a building process in what we're doing. So it's good that players are on edge. We need to be on edge and can maintain that spirit that we had. try and but also have, be a bit braver on the ball in certain situations. I couldn't have asked for that much more. I wasn't in love with the performance against Villa. I thought we did okay and deserved something from the game. But against Chelsea, who notoriously don't give people many chances against them because of their formation and the way they play, we created enough to at least draw the game. So there have been some good signs, and they'll only get better the more we work.
Thank you, Ian. Alistair at the BBC.
Hi Frank. With Anthony's situation, is the need for a striker at Everton greater than the need to keep him?
We worked that one out.
In other words, do you need a striker more than you need Anthony Gordon?
Maybe we need both.
And is there any scenario whereby you would maybe release him to or sell him to Chelsea if another player from Chelsea came to Everton?
Are you getting it?
Warrior?
Yeah, we get to what now. Anthony's our player, and we're not looking at it in a situation of where can we go with this deal to improve us. We've got to look at it as in Anthony Gordon's a great player for us. As again, I'll say it again, we've developed as a player, which is a big deal when the players come through, and he's made one step into the team. We know his value because you see values of player that are moving at the minute that haven't achieved maybe what Anthony has. So he's a big player for us in general. But I return to my first answer. It's a big player for me, for the team. So I don't want to think about what about that instead of Anthony. I want to think about Anthony and what more can we do to improve the team.
So you can assure fans that he'll be here at the end of the window? You
can't ask me to assure anything. Obviously, that'd be naive for me to assure anything that I'll be here by the end of the window. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? It's that's not. I don't want to get into hypotheticals.
Can I ask a bit more about Dele? I know you say you don't want to talk too much about his own personal situation, but he also came into the club at the same time you did. Were you the person that assigned him? Was that you were fully in charge of that? And also, were you fully aware of his situation, whatever that may be, his personal situation, in order that we got to this position where he might be leaving so soon?
Every player since I've been here and come into the club has been a responsibility of myself, the board, the owner, the chairman, and since Kevin's been in, Kevin as well. Those conversations are always ones that we are joined up together. It obviously happened very quickly when I got into the club, and we knew we needed to have players in the midfield area. We were short there on injuries, and the balance of the squad didn't feel quite right. So I think the intentions in bringing him in were pretty clear at the time. In terms of what was the second half of your question? Sorry.
Just were you fully aware? Obviously, you're alluding to issues that perhaps you don't want to talk about, but were you fully aware of those issues when you signed him?
Well, yeah, I think everybody, I didn't know Dele personally, and I think everyone was aware of the curve of his career, and what he'd achieved and where he was at, and that was something you take into account, of course. So I was aware of that in that front, but as I say, the talent of the player, the opportunity to bring him here for a deal that I saw recently that it was like 40 million quid. It wasn't. The deal was not that, and we know that it was an opportunity to try and get him into the team to help us. And the more games he may play, he will become a value. And at the minute, we are trying to get that. We've been trying to find that level of performance from him. He needs to keep working, no matter what happens today, tomorrow, next week, next month. He needs to keep working, because the only thing I know in football, that I know for sure as a coach, many things you don't know for sure, is that hard work on the training pitch correlates with how your performance is. That's all I know, and that goes for every player.
And if he left the club, would that be a personal disappointment?
In my job, you have to have the football side and you have to have the human side. I like Dele. I want to help all the players. I want to sit there and be there to be able to talk to them no matter what's going on in their life, if they want to talk to me about it. So there are many things in this job that kind of can give you disappointments or whatever. The main thing I want to do is be a support for the players and get football results. So again, it's one of those that just becomes too much of a personal question to talk about him on that one.
Okay, and just last of all, you may have seen that the club this week banned a fan for sexually harassing a woman at the club. I think there's been a lot of praise for how the club acted quickly. I just wondered how important you felt it was for the club to do that, and also how important it is for women to feel safe at Goodison.
Well, it's hugely important, of course, and I think the club acted really quickly and in the right manner. I don't know specific details. I want to get drawn on the case too much. I literally sort of have seen and heard the headlines that you've just explained, and of course women should feel comfortable, not just at Goodison, anywhere they go in life, surely. So I think the club acted very well.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We'll take one from Carl Markham, please.
Hi Frank, just to go back specifically on the search for a striker, how much of a concern might it be that the longer it goes on, the more difficult it will be to get in the person you want, because we're less than 2 weeks away from the end of the window and clubs know that you need to strengthen that area?
Yeah, well, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's going to be fit. He's out on the training on the grass now, trying to get fit. As I said, he's an England squad striker when fit and firing, and we saw what he can bring us at the end of last season. Salomon Rondon's here, so I know at the minute everyone's eyes are on that position, and I've been pretty honest that we're looking there, but the idea that it's a desperation is not there. As I said earlier, we have to make the right move for the right player at the right time in a considered way, so we will remain in that position, and we've got 2 weeks left.
Could you get to the end of the window with the window closing, having not brought in a striker, and would you be okay with that?
It's hypotheticals. You know, who knows? We're trying to improve the squad in any way we can. When we get to the end of the window, you can ask me that question if there's no striker